I know you're not expecting this, he said, already dropping a knee to the ground. And I know this is clumsy, but I've been quiet too long. I don't have a ring now, he said quietly. And I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. I'm asking if you'd let me be yours. If I can date you. For real. She blinked, stunned, mouth open, heart pounding fast, losing its rhythm. Same day, 4:47 p.m., campus rooftop. The wind rolled lazily across the rooftop, but the tension in the air was electric. Xiaofeng walked ahead, hoodie flapping. Her steps were fast, angry. Zijian followed slowly behind, each footstep weighed down like bricks. She stopped halfway across the rooftop, turned, and slapped him, hard. The sound cracked through the rooftop silence. Zijian froze. Xiaofeng's voice trembled, but it wasn't weak. It was full of everything she hadn't said yet. What was that back there? His lips parted. He had no answer. Was I a toy? She snapped. Some game piece you get to pick up when it suits you? He stepped forward, eyes full of apology. Xiaofeng, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She demanded. Because it didn't feel like love or care or respect. It felt like you just decided I was yours without even asking me. I wasn't thinking. That's the problem, she yelled, stepping back. You didn't think. You didn't ask. You didn't even give me a moment to say no. Her chest rose and fell hard. Her hands clenched into fists. Zijian looked like someone had yanked the breath from his lungs. I didn't mean to hurt you, she laughed bitterly. But you did. I didn't want you to be humiliated. The reporter, she was going to twist everything. I wanted to protect you. She shook her head slowly. And the only way you knew how was to, what? Claim me in front of everyone. He swallowed. I thought it would make it real. She looked at him for a long time, then said softly, with glass in her voice, did you even stop to think if I wanted it to be real? Zijian's shoulders dropped. I respect you, Xiaofeng. I swear I do. I didn't think you were worthless or someone I could just pull into a moment. He paused, looking down at the floor. I didn't know you'd feel this way, and I'm sorry. Really, I was wrong. She stared at him. Her eyes weren't angry anymore, just hurt. I need time, she said finally. Alone. And before he could speak again, she turned and walked away, leaving him on the rooftop, with only the cold wind and everything he didn't say soon enough. Later that evening, Zijian's dorm room. He sat on his bed, staring at the wall. Her words kept echoing. Did you even stop to think if I wanted it to be real? He'd acted with his heart. Or was it impulse? He hadn't asked. He hadn't waited. And now, the same girl who once wrapped her arms around his neck like he was her favorite soft toy couldn't even look at him without shaking. His phone buzzed. One new message. Not from her. Just a campus group chat sharing photos of the rooftop kiss from earlier. He turned off his phone, laid back, and stared at the ceiling like it might hold the answer to what he just broke. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng's dorm room. She sat on her bed, blanket over her legs, earbuds in. Her roommate asked if she was okay. She nodded, but she didn't feel okay. It was that she wasn't sure why she felt angry, or why she wasn't angry enough. She hated feeling confused. She hated that the person who'd always felt safe, the one who respected her space, her boundaries, her chaos, had crossed a line without warning. She hated how her heart skipped anyway. Friday morning, campus grounds. It had been 4 days since the rooftop. For days since Xiaofeng slapped him and walked away. For days of her dodging every path he took, skipping their usual bench, muting their chat, laughing a little louder than usual in the hallway, like overcompensating for the silence between them. And Zijian? He noticed every moment of it. He didn't try to stop her, because maybe he deserved the space, but it still killed him. 2:37 p.m., outside lecture hall C. Xiaofeng adjusted her bag and picked up pace, head down, earbuds in, hoping she'd get to the next building without bumping into anyone. But someone stepped right in front of her. Chen Hao Yu. He tilted his head. Still ignoring me, huh? She tried to step around him. He moved again. Come on, Xiaofeng. What is this now? You guys broke up or what? Was that kiss just for show? For clout? She took a breath, voice cold. I'm not in the mood, Chen. Really? because it seems like you never are. Unless Ji Jian is standing behind you like some emo knight. She turned her back and walked off. His voice followed her. Just admit it. He doesn't even care about you. He humiliated you in front of the whole school. But she didn't turn around. She walked faster, but her fingers trembled. 3:20 p.m. near the south walkway, behind the library. Ji Jian was walking out from his literature elective when Chun Haoyu appeared out of nowhere, grabbing him by the collar of his sweater. Answer me. Ji Jian blinked. What? You think Xiao Feng's just any girl? Chen growled. That you can play pretend, then toss her aside when things get messy? Students nearby slowed down, watching. Ji Jian didn't flinch. Let me go. No, not until you answer me, Chen said, shaking him slightly. Why don't you just let her go if you're not serious? You messed her up, man. She's pretending to be okay. But she's not. You humiliated her. Ji Jian's expression darkened. His voice was low, steel and ice. I never once thought she was just any girl. Not for a second. Then what are you doing? Chen snapped. You kissed her in front of the whole school, and now you're letting her drift like she's nothing. Ji Jian jerked his collar free, stepped forward. His voice was sharp now, louder, slicing through the tension. You think I haven't suffered for that kiss? He snapped. You think I haven't thought about it 1,000 times since? Whether it was selfish, whether it broke her trust, whether I was just another guy trying to own her moment. I've hated myself every day since it happened. Chun paused, breathing hard. Ji Jian didn't stop. But I'm not going to defend myself to you. This isn't about your hero complex. His eyes narrowed. I messed up. I know that. But you're just circling her pain like a vulture hoping to get lucky. Chun blinked. Ji Jian stepped even closer. I'd rather lose her forever than pretend to love her for attention. So unless you're here to help her seven you again, get lost. A few students gasped softly nearby. Chen didn't say another word. He backed off, turned, and walked away. That evening, rain begins to fall softly. Xiao Feng stood under a dim bus stop canopy, arms folded, hair tucked beneath her jacket. She didn't have an umbrella, and she wasn't moving until she heard the familiar rhythm of footsteps behind her. She turned slightly. It was Ji Jian, soaking wet, holding an umbrella, just for her. She blinked. He didn't say anything, just stood next to her, close, quiet, then gently extended the umbrella over her head. Only her. He let himself stay in the rain. She watched him. Her voice was small. Why are you here? Because I still want to earn the right to stand beside you. She lowered her head, and for a moment, the rain didn't feel so cold anymore. Monday, 7:36 a.m., University Quad. The sun was out. People moved through campus with morning coffees, headphones, and yawns. And Xiao Feng was back. Sort of. She sat at their usual bench, legs curled beneath her, sipping milk tea with 3 extra tapioca scoops, oversized hoodie nearly swallowing her face. Ji Jian approached slowly, 2 steaming egg buns in hand. She looked up, a soft smile, but not the kind that reached her eyes like it used to. Still, she scooted over for him. He handed her a bun. You'll need this. I'm not emotionally ready for classes today, she muttered. Maybe I'll hide in the janitor's closet till lunch. Sounds hygienic, he said. She chuckled barely, and he noticed, because even though she was there, she wasn't really there. 11 a.m., campus library. They sat side by side at a quiet table. She was flipping through a comic again, tucked inside a literature textbook. Usually she'd nudge him and whisper jokes. Today, she didn't say much. She barely touched her pen. Ji Jian closed his own book and turned to her. You okay? I'm fine, she replied too fast. He didn't push, but she could feel him watching her. And she hated how easily he could see through the I'm fines. 2:15 p.m., Xiao Feng's dorm room. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, chewing a sour candy and trying to write a paper, when there was a knock. She called out, "Doors open." She expected her roommate. Instead, what on earth is he doing here? It was her older sister. And Ji Jian was seated quietly at her desk, reading something on his phone. They both shot up. Sis, I thought you weren't visiting until... Her sister's eyes darted between them. 1, 2, 3 times. I leave you alone for 5 minutes, and now you're sneaking boys into your room? It's not like that. Ji Jian looked mortified. I was just helping her study. I'll leave. No, wait. Xiao Feng reached out. Her sister folded her arms. So, you two are really dating now? Pause. Xiao Feng looked at Ji Jian. He looked at her. And suddenly, it wasn't just a lie anymore. It wasn't pretend. But it wasn't simple either. Still, he stepped forward, voice calm. I care about her. Her sister raised a brow. So what's going on between you two? And Xiao Feng went quiet, because she didn't know how to answer, because she was still trying to find her way back to herself, and to him, because even though he brought her egg buns and held umbrellas in the rain, her heart was still figuring out what it meant to trust again. Her sister sighed. You know what, Xiao Feng? I don't care if you're dating or not. I care that you don't look like yourself. Xiao Feng blinked. You've always been a storm in human form. Loud, bright, messy. Now you're just muted. She didn't reply. Ji Jian looked down, because he saw it too. Later that night, campus bench. She sat there alone, hood up. He found her without asking. Sat beside her in silence. After a long pause, he said softly, You don't have to pretend with me. I'm trying, she whispered. I know. It's just hard. I don't know what we are anymore. What I am. He looked at her, then gently said, You're still Xiao Feng. Still the girl who spilled juice on me, who dragged me into arcades, who called me baby brother, like I was a lost puppy. She laughed weakly. You were a lost puppy, and you still haven't returned me to the shelter, he replied. She smiled a little more, then leaned on his shoulder without warning. He froze, then let her stay. Friday, 4:58 p.m., on the bridge behind the cafeteria. The sunset melted across the river, a slow orange glow reflecting on the water below. The breeze made Xiao Feng's hoodie strings dance as she stood by the railing, quietly staring into the distance. Ji Jian stood next to her, holding 2 cups of warm soy milk. She took hers silently. After a long pause, she said, Do you ever wish we could rewind time? Ji Jian turned. Back to when? She gave a small laugh. Back to when the most dramatic thing I did was steal your coins at the arcade and force you to eat hot pot. He smirked faintly. You didn't force me. I just let you win. Liar, she said softly. Then the silence crept in again, the kind that says more than either of them dared to. She took a breath. I don't know if we can go back to how we used to be. Ji Jian didn't flinch. She continued, And I don't want to start something with you. Not yet. Not until I understand what I feel. Not until I feel like me again. He nodded slowly. I'm not asking for anything, he said gently. I'm fine just being your baby brother. She rolled her eyes with a smile. You're 2 years older than me. Doesn't stop you from using me as a headrest and emotional punching bag, Ji Jian replied lightly. Her laugh was quiet but real. Then she looked at him, really looked at him. I just need space to breathe. But don't go too far. I'm right here, he said. And I'm not going anywhere. Monday morning, University Announcement Hall. The department building buzzed with nervous chatter. Posters flapped. Professors whispered. Students leaned against every wall, craning their necks to see the pinned results. The list, the one that announced the International Academic Exchange Program, a prestigious 2-month overseas research opportunity in Japan. Only one student from each department had been selected. Ji Jian scanned the list quietly. He saw his name, but his eyes didn't stop until he saw the next one. Lin Xiaofeng, Department of Communications, alternate candidate. His breath caught for a second. Alternate. He looked around, then saw her slowly walking toward the list. She saw her name and paused. Alternate, she muttered. That's just a fancy word for almost, right? Ji Jian opened his mouth to say something. Anything, but she turned away quickly, smiling, but it didn't reach her eyes. Congrats, she said softly. You got it. He didn't know why, but it didn't feel like winning. That night, Xiao Feng's dorm balcony. She sat curled on her beanbag, blanket over her knees, laptop closed, looking up at the stars. She typed a message. I'm happy for you. I mean it. Also, tell the moon I miss you, but don't tell it I said that. Ji Jian, after some minutes, replied, The moon's nosy. It already knows. I'll send it your regards when I board that plane. Xiao Feng texted again. Don't forget me when you become some super genius abroad. Impossible, he replied. You're the reason I even applied. She paused, didn't reply for a while. Then finally, okay, baby brother, just don't stay gone too long. Tuesday evening, the night before the flight. The halls of the dormitory were dim and unusually quiet. Everyone else was busy packing or sleeping early before the early morning departures. Ji Jian was seated cross-legged on his bed, folding a final shirt into his suitcase. A checklist sat beside him, half-checked, half-ignored. Then, a gentle knock at the door. He looked up, slightly confused. When he opened it, it was her, Xiao Feng. She stood there, damp from the soft drizzle outside, hoodie half-zipped, cheeks pink from the cold, her hands tucked behind her. He blinked. Xiao, I know, she said before he could finish. You're flying tomorrow, and I should probably be doing something meaningful like crying under a tree or watching sad K-dramas. He smiled faintly. You don't have to. I know that too, she interrupted again, stepping inside slowly. But I wanted to. She paused, looked down, then brought her hands forward. In them were two small, handmade bracelets. Navy blue and deep gray threads woven tightly together. The pattern not perfect, a little frayed at the edges, but beautiful all the same. Each had a tiny silver cross woven into the center. She handed him one. I made them last week, she said, voice soft. I know it's kinda old school, but I didn't want to just say goodbye and wave or whatever. Ji Jian stared at the bracelet. He turned it over gently in his hand. It's beautiful, he said. She gave a soft laugh. Took me 5 hours, 1 broken needle, and 3 YouTube tutorials. And the cross. I don't know, she shrugged. I just thought, maybe it could remind us that whatever happens, Jesus watching over us. He looked at her, really looked, and saw that quiet ache still lingering behind her eyes, but also a softness. A peace she hadn't shown in weeks. You didn't have to give me anything, he said. I know, she replied, eyes down. And I'm not asking you to wait for me, or hold out, or keep hoping. She looked up. I just want you to wear it. And when you look at it, remember that somewhere I'm trying to be me again, to feel whole again. Ji Jian nodded, tied it around his wrist. Firm, intentional. He didn't say thank you. He didn't have to. She could see it in the way he gently ran his fingers over the tiny cross like it meant more than gold. They stood there in silence for a moment. She finally said, I should go. If I stay any longer, I'll cry. And I hate crying in front of boys. Then don't cry, he said quietly. She looked at him and smiled wide and real. She reached out, ruffled his hair like she always did. My baby brother's going international. Don't come back with a weird accent. He gave a soft laugh. No promises. And then she turned to leave, stopped at the door. Without looking back, she whispered, Fly safe, Ji Jian, and disappeared into the night. 4:22 a.m. Campus shuttle stop. Ji Jian stood in the early morning cold, suitcase beside him, watching the sky slowly shift from charcoal to a tired blue. He looked down at his wrist. The bracelet was still there, still warm from her hands, still holding 100 words she didn't say, and one that echoed over and over in his heart. Hope. Tokyo, Japan, 6:42 p.m. 1 week later. The neon lights of Shibuya glowed like rivers of color down the bustling streets. Crowds moved in slow motion around him. Ji Jian walked quietly through it all, hands in his coat pocket, university ID clipped to his backpack. The research institute had been intense, full of brilliance, competition, and rapid-fire ideas. He was surrounded by some of the sharpest students from Asia, Europe, and the US. And yet, his mind wandered constantly to a girl in oversized hoodies who once snatched coins from his hands at the arcade, to the sound of her laughter when she beat him at hot pot speed eating, to her last words, Fly safe, Ji Jian. Later that night dorm in Tokyo, he sat by the window, night lights flickering outside. His phone buzzed, a message from one of the Japanese interns. Yuki, you were really quiet today. All good. He ignored it. His eyes drifted to the bracelet on his wrist. He smiled faintly, then opened their chat. Ji Jian, Tokyo's bright, busy, brilliant, but it's not loud enough without you. No reply. He didn't mind. Meanwhile, back in University Xiaofeng's dorm, Xiaofeng was in her room, sketching something on a notepad. Her roommate peeked over her shoulder. "Is that a game room layout?" She grinned shyly. "Just doodling ideas. I'm thinking of pitching a mini pop-up arcade zone for campus events week." "You?" her roommate teased. "Planning something without chaos?" Xiaofeng chuckled. "Healing doesn't mean I stop being me. It means I get better at doing it loud." But just then, her phone buzzed. She looked at it. Ji Jian's message. Her heart did a little flip. "It's not loud enough without you." She stared at the words for a long moment, didn't reply, but a smile crept to her face anyway. 2 days later, Japan University Research Lab. "Ji Jian," one of the interns called excitedly. "We're going to the Sakura Night Festival this weekend. You in?" He hesitated. "I might. I heard you're the quiet storm everyone's been talking about," a girl named Naomi said, eyes gleaming. "Cool, quiet, mysterious. I love it." He gave an awkward smile, but when they all left, laughing and tossing snowflakes at each other, he stayed behind, pulled out his phone again, opened her voice notes from weeks ago, played the one where she laughed for 14 seconds straight because he slipped on bubble tea. He chuckled softly. Back home, campus arcade room construction. Xiaofeng stood in the partially cleared-out rec room, arms crossed, hair tied in a messy bun. She was barking directions at a group of sleepy student volunteers. "No, no, the claw machine has to face the mirror. It's a psychological trick. Makes the prizes feel double." "Feng," one guy groaned. "It's 9 a.m. and I haven't had coffee." "Neither have I. Now move it." She turned, feeling energized, feeling her again. But just then, a deep voice behind her. "You're kind of terrifying when you're serious." She turned around, half expecting to see him. It wasn't Ji Jian. It was Chun Haoyu. Her face dropped. "What are you doing here? I heard you were turning this place into a circus. I wanted to see it for myself." "Leave, Chen. I don't have time for you." He held up his hands. "Relax. I just came to say, it's kinda impressive. That's all." She narrowed her eyes. "You're not winning any points." "Wasn't trying to." He walked out, but not before glancing at the tiny bracelet on her wrist and frowning. Later that night, Tokyo. Ji Jian received a photo. It was her, standing in front of a neon pink, arcade in progress sign. Hair a mess, wearing goggles and holding a hammer like a warrior. Caption: "Still loud, still crazy, still me. Wish you were here to see it." His heart hit the roof of his ribcage. He stared at the photo for a long time, then finally replied, "I am seeing it, every day, in my head. Just promise it'll still be there when I get back." Xiaofeng texted back, "Only if you beat me at air hockey this time." Ji Jian a few seconds later, "Impossible. You cheat." "Then stay ready," Xiaofeng replied after some time. Tokyo, Sunday morning, 9:12 a.m. Ji Jian stood in front of a large cherry blossom tree, pink petals fluttering in the wind like confetti sent from heaven. His classmates snapped photos, laughed, posed, but he stood still, looking down at his phone, at her last message. "The pop-up arcade opens next weekend. If you miss it, I'm keeping your hoodie as punishment." He smiled, texting back, "I'll be there before the lights flicker on." But even as he typed it, he hesitated, because no matter how much he missed her, he wondered, would they still click the same way when he got back? Would that warmth still be waiting? Or had time begun slowly brushing their bond into memory? University campus, Xiaofeng's dorm, that same morning. Her phone buzzed. Dean Luo, Communications Department. "Congratulations, Miss Lin. You've been accepted as the primary candidate for the International Student Exchange to Italy. Semester starts in 5 weeks. Official letter sent." Xiaofeng stared at it, mouth slightly open, hands frozen. Italy. The dream she never thought would happen. The opportunity she didn't even think she stood a chance at. The one she applied for months ago with zero expectations. She dropped her phone on the bed, then picked it up again, reread it, and again. Why now? Later that day, arcade room opening preview. The arcade was glowing. Bright lights, chirping machines, claw prizes stacked, cotton candy machine twirling in a corner. Music echoed through the converted rec room, and students packed in like bees to honey. Xiaofeng was a whirlwind, instructing volunteers, waving kids into booths, giggling with old classmates. But inside her chest was tight. Ji Jian's flight was in 3 days. He'd be back. And now, so would the decision. Tokyo Airport, Tuesday night. Ji Jian wheeled his suitcase past the departure gate, headphones around his neck. A classmate beside him asked, "So what's the first thing you're doing when you land?" Without missing a beat, he said, "Find her." Back at the university campus, Wednesday afternoon. He arrived in quiet. No grand entry, just him, his backpack, and the bracelet still tied firmly on his wrist. He didn't tell her he had landed. He walked straight to the arcade room. She wasn't there, just volunteers cleaning up from the first trial run. But something was different, a soft buzz in the air, a hint of absence. He walked through the blinking machines, his fingers grazing the joystick of the air hockey table. And then, back already? He turned. She stood at the doorway, holding 2 bottled teas. One for him. Her eyes sparkled, but not without that shadow of hesitation. He smiled. "Told you I'd make it before the lights flickered." She handed him the drink. "You cut it close." They sat in silence on the old bench near the photo booth. Then she turned to him. "I got selected. For Italy. Full semester. Leaves in 5 weeks." Ji Jian blinked. She waited for him to speak, but he just nodded slowly. "That's amazing." She searched his face. "You're not upset?" "I'm proud," he said, voice soft. "And maybe a little terrified for you, but mostly proud." She looked down at the bracelet on her wrist. "I just got you back. I'm not leaving your world," he said. "Just your side. For a little while." She smiled faintly, though her eyes brimmed. "I don't know how to say goodbye again." "Then don't," he said. "Just say see you later." That evening, rooftop overlooking campus. They stood side by side, sipping warm sweet milk tea. The wind was gentle. Xiao Feng leaned her head on his shoulder, not as a lover, not yet, but as someone afraid she might lose the only person who understood her silence without asking questions. And Ji Jian? He simply let her rest there, brushing her pinky against his. No pressure, no confession, no plan, just presence, just them. 5 days before goodbye, for weeks later. "If we can't stop time, let's fill it." That was Xiao Feng's message. And Ji Jian didn't even hesitate before replying. "When do we start?" Mini Adventure Day 1, 24-hour cafe and truth questions. They picked the old cafe behind the student dorms, the one open all night and run by a sleepy couple who never asked questions. They sat opposite each other, phones down, fingers wrapped around steaming cups. "Let's play truth questions," Xiao Feng said with a playful grin. "I ask, you answer. No skips, no filters." Ji Jian raised a brow. "You're going first then. If you could redo one moment with me, which one would it be?" Ji Jian stared at his cup, then said quietly, "The rooftop. When you slapped me. I wish I hadn't made you feel like that." She blinked, bit her lip, nodded slowly. His turn. "Do you wish we were just strangers again?" She smiled, eyes glassy. "No. I just wish falling for someone didn't come with so many sharp edges." Mini Adventure Day 2, the Ferris wheel deal. At the neon-lit carnival on the edge of town, they got stuck at the top of the Ferris wheel for a full 12 minutes. Xiao Feng, clinging to the safety bar. "I hate heights. I'm not emotionally designed for this." Ji Jian just laughed. Hard. She threw a fist into his shoulder, and he leaned his head back. "It's kinda peaceful up here." She finally calmed down. "Promise me if I fall, you'll dive and catch me mid-air." "I'd miss, but I'd fall with you." She stared at him, and for the first time in a long time, she blushed. Mini Adventure Day 3, the day of the almost kiss. It was supposed to be simple. Movie marathon, old DVDs, pile of snacks, no phones. They argued over rom-coms versus sci-fi, as usual. At some point, halfway through a terribly dubbed love drama, Xiao Feng curled into the beanbag chair beside him, head on his arm. They laughed at the same stupid joke, turned to face each other, paused, their faces too close. Her laughter faded into a silence that stretched wide. Ji Jian's eyes gazed into hers. She didn't move. He leaned in slowly, almost, but she pulled away, not harshly, not in rejection, just softly. "We shouldn't be doing," she whispered. Ji Jian nodded. "Then I'll wait. Or not. Whatever you need." She exhaled. I'm sorry, Zijin apologized in a soft whisper, then pulled her knee up to her chest, wrapping them with her arms like nothing happened. But her heart was racing, and so was his. Mini Adventure Day 4. Back to where it started. The wedding hall. Empty now. Dusty. Quiet. But it still smelled faintly of flowers and old perfume. They stood at the spot where she had first spilled orange juice on his white shirt. God, she laughed. You looked like you wanted to commit murder that day. I did, he deadpanned. Murder or disappear. She twirled once. I guess this was where everything started. He walked slowly to her. And maybe where something else can start again. She looked at him. This time didn't laugh. Later that night, dorm balcony. Her voice note. Thanks for making time feel less scary. Even if we don't talk every day in Italy, I'll think of you every time I see someone weirdly quiet but strangely loyal. His reply. I'll think of you whenever I hear laughter that sounds like home. Airport terminal, departure gate C, 6:28 a.m. The announcement echoed over the speakers. Final boarding call for flight 9 times 10 to the power of 4 to Milan, Italy. Passengers, please proceed to gate C immediately. Xiao Feng stood, suitcase at her side, boarding pass slightly crumpled in her hand. She looked behind her. The crowd moved. Luggage wheels clattered. People hugged, rushed, but he wasn't there. Not yet. She turned toward the glass, watching the plane sitting calmly outside the window, as if unaware that her entire heart was twisting. 30 minutes earlier, university dorms. Jijian had overslept, not by accident, but from staying up all night rereading their old messages, flipping through every blurry photo she'd sent over the months. He'd planned to write her a letter, then planned not to. He stood by the window, running his fingers over the bracelet still on his wrist. Then, without a second thought, grabbed his hoodie, left everything else behind, and ran. Back at the terminal, 6:34 a.m. Just as Xiao Feng was about to step into the boarding tunnel, someone called her name. Not shouted, just called. Calm, low, steady. She turned. There he was, Jijian, out of breath, hair messy, hoodie half-zipped, holding nothing but a small brown envelope. Xiao Feng blinked hard, her eyes immediately filling with tears. Where were you? She asked, trying not to sob. I was scared, he admitted, stepping closer. That if I saw you off, I wouldn't let you leave. She gave a tearful laugh. So you decided to almost miss me instead? He handed her the envelope. Inside, there were 3 things. 1. A Polaroid photo, the one she'd taken of him during the hot pot challenge, laughing so hard his eyes disappeared. 2. A note. For the nights you forget who makes you laugh the most. Her lips parted slightly. Jijian, I'm not asking you to choose me, he said, voice steadier than she expected. I just want you to know. You were never temporary to me. She stared at him, unable to speak. I don't want you to stay, he added softly. I want you to go, and live, and fly higher than you ever imagined. She covered her mouth with her hand, the tears now free-falling. But just, he paused, breathing. Don't erase me, okay? She nodded, not with words, but with the kind of nod that says 1,000 things in silence. And then she did something unexpected. She stepped close, pulled him into a hug, tight, long, warm enough like he was family. She whispered, No one ever made me feel safer than you did. He squeezed her back once. She pulled away, eyes shining with tears, lips curved into a soft smile. Then, without saying another word, she turned and walked into the tunnel, and he watched her until the very last edge of her hoodie disappeared. Milan, Italy, 2:14 p.m. Xiao Feng sat on the balcony of her shared apartment overlooking the cobbled streets of the old city. She was dressed in a worn hoodie, his unknowingly, laptop on her lap, half-finished gelato in her hand. She just finished editing a campus project video, something about culture and adaptation, when her roommate, Julia, peeked out of the kitchen. Another voice note from your Chinese mystery boy? Xiao Feng laughed. He's not a mystery, Julia smirked. Then why haven't I heard his voice once? Xiao Feng hesitated. She hadn't opened Jijian's last message, the one he sent after she landed. Not because she didn't want to, but because every time she saw his name on the screen, her chest got tight. She pressed play. Jijian voice message. Hey, I hope Italy is everything the travel books couldn't describe. No pressure to reply. I just hope you're smiling somewhere under foreign skies. She smiled faintly, then did something she hadn't done in days. She replied. Xiaofeng text. I found a cafe that sells pork skewers. Not the same, but it made me think of you. Jijian reply. That means I've officially made it into your snack memories. High honor. Back at campus, 8:47 p.m. Jijian walked the hallway of the dorms. AirPods in, hoodie on, listening to an old playlist they once shared. But as he turned the corner, he stopped abruptly. Because there, standing beside the vending machine, was Chun Haoyu. Again. And worse, he was chatting up a girl from Xiaofeng's literature class. Jijian narrowed his eyes. The guy turned and met his stare. Haoyu smirked. Funny, he said calmly. How quickly people forget the ones who left. Jijian stepped closer. She's not forgotten. You sure? Haoyu pulled out his phone. 'Cause I got something that says otherwise. He showed him a photo. It was blurry but real. Xiaofeng in Italy, sitting at an outdoor cafe, with a guy, laughing, leaning forward, close, intimate. Jijian's heart skipped. You spying on her? Haoyu grinned. Nope, just connections. Friends of friends. Jijian didn't say anything, just stared at the photo. Not because he was angry, but because he realized how easily a story can twist when you're not there to witness it. Milan 1 hour later. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng was doing laundry when she saw the name Jijian light up her phone again. But instead of a voice note this time, he sent a photo. The photo, with one message. That's not the goodbye we said, is it? Her heart dropped. Back at campus, Jijian sat under the night sky at their usual rooftop, bracelet still on, his expression unreadable. Was he jealous? Hurt? Or just afraid? He closed his phone and whispered into the wind, God, please don't let me become just a memory. Back at Milan, Italy. Xiaofeng stared at the photo again, then typed, he's just a project partner. That day, I laughed because he tried to eat gelato with chopsticks. Jijian replied, you sure that's all it was? Xiaofeng texted back, I wouldn't choose lying to you over something this trivial, would I? No reply, for 10 minutes. Then finally, Jijian, I'm sorry, I trust you. I just miss you in a way that makes me scared. Then don't be scared, she replied. We've always been louder than fear. Few days later, campus cafeteria, China, Thursday noon. Jijian didn't notice it at first. The whispers, the side glances, the way conversations halted whenever he walked past. But when he sat down with his lunch and saw his name trending on the university's internal forum, everything clicked. Jijian and the girl from Milan? Long-distance love or scandal waiting to blow up? Can you believe he finally dated someone? Wait, is she even real? His face tightened, not because he was angry, but because someone had leaked that photo, of Xiaofeng laughing in Italy with her male project partner. A thread followed it, captioned, Guess she left him for good. That's what you get when you act like a saint. Jijian slammed his tray shut and walked out. Campus library 1 hour later. Jijian sat alone near the back wall, scrolling through the comments until he stopped at one reply. Username, Chunhao Snake. Some girls like to play soft until someone better comes along. Tough pill. Huh. He didn't reply, but his jaw clenched. Meanwhile, Milan, Italy, same day. Xiaofeng was walking down the street with a bag of Italian snacks, trying to enjoy the warm breeze and a brief break from studies, until someone called her name. Xiaofeng. She turned and froze. Chen Haoyu, wearing sunglasses, holding a carry-on bag, and smiling like he didn't just cross 2 time zones uninvited. What the hell are you doing here? She said, stepping back slightly. He shrugged casually. Surprised. Surprised is not the word. She hurled back. You never blocked me, so I figured that meant I could check in on you. She stared, eyes wide. You flew to Italy to check in? Why not? Heard you're doing well. Wanted to see it for myself. I'm serious, Chin. What are you doing here? Her voice was firmer now. He smirked. I saw the picture. You and your little foreign friend. Thought maybe Jijian wasn't the only one being lied to. She froze. Did you post it? He didn't answer. Did you? She demanded, voice rising. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. You think someone like Ji Jian would really fight for you once doubt creeps in? I came to prove something. You came to embarrass yourself, she snapped, then turned, storming off down the street without another word. That night, Milan apartment balcony. Her hands were shaking as she typed. Xiaofeng, you saw the photo, right? Yeah. He's here. In Milan. Chen Haoyu is here. What? He showed up out of nowhere. Said he wanted to check on me. I think he's behind the photo leak. He's playing some game I don't understand. I'll fix it. No, she replied. This isn't yours to fix. You just need to trust me. Do you? There was a pause, then a ping. I do. I trust you more than I trust myself. Tears welled up in her eyes. Then say it again, just once more. I trust you. Campus rooftop, late night. Ji Jian looked up at the sky. The same stars, but one world apart. He pulled out his notebook and began writing something. It wasn't homework, not a letter, just words. He'd been quiet too long, and he knew it was time to speak. Campus auditorium, Friday morning. The student-led press club was buzzing. The room was filled with reporters, department heads, and nearly a third of the student body. A special address had been announced, hosted by the Dean of Student Life. No one knew what it was about, but Ji Jian did. He stood behind the curtain, fingers tightening around the paper in his hand. Once this goes out, there's no walking it back. But this wasn't for damage control anymore. It was about dignity, her dignity, and his own long overdue voice. 10 minutes before the speech, Chen Haoyu, leaning smugly against the back wall of the auditorium, whispered to one of the lit students, "He's gonna crack. He's too soft for spotlight. Watch." Milan, Italy, simultaneously. Xiaofeng sat in the campus library, glued to her phone. Julia, her roommate, leaned over her shoulder. "Are you sure it's a good idea to let this go public?" Xiaofeng nodded. "If he's going to speak, I won't stop him." Back to campus, on stage. Ji Jian stepped up to the mic. Silence filled the room. He cleared his throat. "I don't like attention. I never have. But lately, silence hasn't protected the people I care about. So here I am." A stir rippled through the crowd. "Yes, I'm in a relationship of sorts." Whispers grow louder. "But it's complicated. Not because we're hiding anything, but because we never asked for the spotlight to begin with." He raised his eyes to the crowd. "The photo going around? It's real, but so is the truth behind it." She was laughing, not flirting, and I trust her more than I trust any of the people who've been using that image like ammunition. Gasped. She's in Italy chasing her dreams, and she's still the brightest, most reckless, most annoyingly brilliant person I've ever met. Some people chuckled. He added, voice steady now, "If you think she left me for someone else, you don't know her. If you think I'd believe that, you don't know me. So maybe now it's time you do." Her name is Lin Xiaofeng, and she's not just the girl in that photo. She's the reason I started speaking in full sentences again. Silence, then thunderous applause, from students, staff, even some professors. Even Chen Haoyu froze, his jaw slightly clenched. Milan Xiaofeng's apartment. She watched the live stream replay, tears quietly streaking down her face. Julia placed a hand over her heart. That was a confession. Xiaofeng didn't respond, just quietly whispered, "I told him not to wait for me." But he never really left. Campus cafeteria later that day. Ji Jian was walking toward his usual table when he noticed something. People smiled at him, nodded, not with mockery but respect. Even girls who used to giggle behind his back gave him a wide berth, no longer seeing him as a mystery, but a man who finally spoke with his chest. Evening private voice note from Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng voice. "You did that. For me? You stood in front of everyone and said my name like it was armor. I'm not used to being defended like that. But today, I wished more than anything that I could run back to you and say thank you, with my whole heart. Maybe someday, I will. I hope." Campus dorm, Monday morning the following week. Ji Jian opened his locker like any other day. Books, files, the leftover mint he'd forgotten about. But something stood out. A small package wrapped in brown paper. No sender's name, Just a little sticker in the corner that read, "From where the bells chime louder than the doubts." She always had a poetic way with words. Inside, folded letter, a small, cloth-wrapped object. He opened the letter slowly, recognizing her handwriting instantly. Xiao Feng's letter reads out, "Ji Jian, I watched your speech 10 times. Paused it, rewound it. I still can't believe you said my name like that. Like I meant something more than memory. Every time something good happens here, I want to tell you first. And every time I feel scared or alone, your name is the one I whisper in my head. So I made you something. It's handmade. I carved it in a workshop here." Ji Jian unwrapped the cloth carefully. And inside was a wooden pendant, hand-carved, shaped like a dove bird with its wings open wide. Flames painted in deep scarlet and gold. At the center, a tiny silver cross, matching the bracelet she gave him. "Because even when I flew away, I wanted you to remember, I'm still rising, but not without you in my sky." Later that day, campus library. Ji Jian couldn't stop staring at the dovebird pendant. Somehow, it felt heavier than it looked, because it carried all the things she hadn't said out loud, but hoped he understood. Elsewhere on campus, computer lab. Meanwhile, Chun Haoyu wasn't done. He'd caught wind of the applause, the respect Ji Jian was gaining, and he hated it. He stared at his screen, zooming into a still frame, a grainy moment caught during Xiao Feng's welcome dinner in Milan. The photo looked innocent, but when cropped just right, it made her and her male project partner look intimately close. Too close. He uploaded it anonymously to the campus gossip board, with the caption, "Still rising or already flown?" Campus buzz, same day, 7 p.m. Ji Jian saw it by accident. Someone showed him, thinking he already knew. He stared at the image. He could feel the pull in his chest, the same tightening he felt the first time the rumor started. But then, he reached into his hoodie, touched the pendant around his neck, and this time he didn't flinch. Ji Jian's room, voice note to Xiao Feng. Ji Jian voice, "They're trying again. Same lies, different angles. But this time, I don't care what they say. You don't owe me clarity. Just keep being real. I'll know the truth by how your words feel, not by what a cropped photo says." Milan, Xiao Feng's studio apartment, late night. She sat by the window, read his voice note, twice, then typed one simple message. "Xiao Feng, you're not a backup. You're the only one I've ever called home." Campus, Saturday morning, just before sunrise. The sky was still a soft blue-gray. Mist curled low over the gates. Not many people were awake, but Ji Jian was already at the arrival gate. Hoodie on, hands stuffed in pockets, backpack slung over one shoulder. He stood still, eyes locked on the campus drop-off point like it was sacred ground. His chest thumped, slow but hard, because she texted him just the night before. Landing at 5:47 a.m. "If you're not busy, don't meet me. If you are, still don't meet me. Just maybe be where I can find you." He smiled when he read it, but now that he was here, he couldn't stop the ache. The fear that somehow the moment might not match the feeling. Then, the cab pulled up. The door opened, and Xiao Feng stepped out, luggage in one hand, hoodie slightly oversized, the bracelet still on her wrist. She hadn't even looked around before she froze, as if she could feel him nearby. Then she saw him. They locked eyes. She didn't run. She just walked, slowly, steadily, directly to him. And Ji Jian didn't speak. He just opened his arms. She walked straight into them. Her bag dropped to the side. His arms wrapped around her warmly, pulling her in like he was trying to convince the universe she was real. They stood like that. No words, just warmth. And a silence thick with every emotion unsaid. She started to pull back after a moment, just to look at him, but he pulled her right back in. Tighter. This time he shook. Small, controlled tremors. She stilled, and then she heard it. Quiet sobs, buried against her shoulder. The kind that come from prayers whispered too long without knowing if they'd ever be answered. He was crying, not loudly but deep, as though the ache he'd buried for months had finally found the only arms safe enough to break in. She held him tighter, one hand rubbing his back slowly, the other gently patting his head like a mother would a child. "Hey," she whispered. "It's okay now. I'm here." He didn't reply, just kept holding on. Then finally, through quiet breaths, he spoke. "I prayed." he said, voice cracking. To God for strength not to doubt you, not to doubt what we gave each other. Even when I was afraid, even when it hurt. She listened, heart swelling. Her forehead rested against his shoulder, her hand still patting his back softly like a child he wasn't. However, later that morning, they sat side by side on the rooftop, her head resting on his shoulder, his fingers gently brushing her bracelet. No one needed to say what they were now. They were something sacred, not labeled, not rushed, just real. And the world, for once, could wait. It had been 1 month, 1 week since her return. Life had slowly settled back into something familiar, something sweet. Xiao Feng was herself again, laughing too loud in public, tripping over flat floors, humming into Ji Jian's ears when he was trying to study, stealing his hoodie just to wear it to class and then blaming him for not having spares. Ji Jian, on the other hand, was quiet but never distant. If anything, he'd grown more present. He smiled more, laughed in that half-silent way of his that only she could draw out. To outsiders, they were perfect opposites. To each other, they were peace in different languages. But peace always has a fragile edge. And one Tuesday evening, as they strolled back from the campus market, plastic bags swinging between them, Xiao Feng dropped the news with a burst of giddy excitement. So, you remember that creative fellowship I applied for last semester? The one in Paris? He nodded slowly. She bounced on her feet. Well, they finally replied. They loved my Milan portfolio. They're seriously considering me. I might get in. She grinned from ear to ear, her eyes sparkling the way they always did when talking about her dreams. But this time, Ji Jian didn't smile. He stopped walking. Would it be a must you go, he said softly. Xiao Feng froze mid-step, turned to face him, confused. Just, he swallowed. Don't go. It was the first time he'd ever said those words to her. Not when she left for Milan. Not when she traveled to Seoul last winter. Not even when she came back only half herself. Now it slipped out of his mouth like a cry held in too long. She blinked, then forced a laugh. Is my baby brother going to miss me that much? She rubbed his head playfully and added, Don't worry, it's not even official yet. And even if it is, we'll figure it out, like we always do. So cheer up, would you? Ji Jian said nothing, but his silence was louder than her laugh. 3 days later, it did become official. A formal offer came in her inbox. 12 months, fully funded. Creative leadership at the Paris Institute of Digital Arts. It was everything she'd once dreamed of. And for a moment, her heart soared. Then it sank. Because this time, she had something she didn't have in Milan. Someone. Him. She stared at her phone for hours before sending a text. Ji Jian, it's real this time. I got the offer. His reply came minutes later. Don't go. And then a second text followed. Can we meet? Tonight. Rooftop. Ji Jian's dorm room, 7:20 p.m. He paced slowly, holding a bouquet of flowers on his hand. With a note tucked into it, and a promise he hadn't spoken yet. He knelt by his bed, closed his eyes. Holy Spirit, please help me speak. Please help her see what I can't put into words. He stood, shoulders straightened. Tonight, he wasn't going to just let her go again. 1 hour later on the rooftop, the city was awash in golden light, the kind that made silhouettes stretch and hearts beat slower. Ji Jian stood at the top of the dormitory rooftop, pacing, clutching a simple bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite. The petals trembled slightly in the soft breeze, much like the boy holding them. Xiao Feng arrived late, skipping 2 stairs at a time, a juice box in her hand and that signature lopsided grin on her face. Ji Jian, you called me to the rooftop like a proper K-drama villain, she teased, sipping her drink. Are you going to confess you're secretly a prince next? He didn't smile. Not this time. He simply took a slow breath and knelt down, one knee, flowers in hand, heart bare. Her smile vanished. Ji Jian, what are you doing? He looked up at her, eyes raw. No jokes, no silence, just truth. I know you're not expecting this, and I know this is clumsy, but I've been quiet too long. I don't have a ring now, he said quietly, and I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. I'm asking if you'd let me be yours, if I can date you. For real. She blinked, stunned, mouth open. heart pounding. "You're the only girl I've ever wanted to kneel for," he said, "and I don't want to kneel for anyone else. Please don't go to Paris. Not for a year. Not when I finally have you back." She stepped forward, but her smile didn't return. Her brows furrowed deeply. "Jijian, get up," she whispered. "You don't have to do this. I'm not worth all this hassle." He stayed kneeling. "You don't get to say that," he replied, "because I decide what you mean to me, and you mean more than I can explain with words." Her eyes filled. Hands trembled. "Please, I'm begging you, just stand up." He didn't, and now his tears began to fall slowly. He lowered his head, voice cracking as he said, "Please don't hurt me like this. Don't walk away. Not when I'm trying. Not when I'm giving everything." She dropped to her knees before him, crying too, unable to hold back anymore. "Jijian, I'm so sorry. Her voice broke. "Sorry. You don't understand. I have flaws. So many. I get tired of myself, Jijian. I'm reckless, dramatic, moody. I shut people out too. I laugh when I shouldn't. What if you grow tired of me?" He reached for her hands. "That won't happen." She pulled away gently, heart cracking like glass. "What if it does? What if one day I become someone you hate? What if one day we hate each other?" She was sobbing now, barely speaking through the words. "I've seen it. In dramas, in real life, here in China. Couples who swore they'd love each other forever. And now, they don't even speak. They pretend they never existed. I don't want that. I don't want to be your girlfriend today, and then become your enemy tomorrow." She shook her head violently. "I don't want things to go wrong between us. I love what we are, Jijian. I love this bond, this safety. I don't want to ruin it by getting used to you, and then losing you." She stood quickly, still crying, still panicked. I'm sorry. And then, she ran. He didn't stop her. He couldn't anyways. And just like that, the rooftop was silent now. Only the city noise below, the wind above, and one boy kneeling, still, long after the moment passed. Jijian didn't move. His hand clenched the bouquet tighter, and then slowly he dropped it. It hit the concrete like something sacred breaking. He sat on the ground, buried his face in his palms, and he cried, really cried. The kind that didn't have sound, only shudders, only the heaving of shoulders and silent gasps for strength. "I just wanted to love you," he whispered to no one. Later that night, Xiaofeng's dorm. She lay curled in bed, her phone beside her. She stared at the screen. No texts, no calls, only the image of him, kneeling, crying, clutching flowers, playing over and over in her mind. Her pillow was soaked, her heart split right down the middle. However, time moved, but they didn't. It had been a little over a week since the rooftop confession, since Jijian knelt down, trembling with hope, and Xiaofeng ran away in tears. 8 days since she told him she was scared of ruining something precious. 8 days since she left him on the cold concrete floor, gripping crushed flower petals and sobbing into his palms. And now, they were no longer the same. Jijian had shut the world out again. He wore his hoodie up, even in the heat. His earphones always dangled from his collar, though no music played. He walked alone, ate alone, sat at the far end of the library with a fortress of books no one dared cross. He stopped replying to class group chats, ignored professors, didn't answer when students called his name in passing. But the one thing he didn't stop doing was watching her. From afar, always from afar, even when she didn't look back, especially when she didn't look back. His eyes would follow her, quietly, longingly, like he was studying a part of himself he no longer recognized. He didn't hate her, he couldn't, but the silence between them had grown sharp, icy, like walking barefoot on broken glass, slow, painful, and deliberate. On the other hand, Xiaofeng on the outside seemed fine. She still joked with her roommates, still laughed loudly in hallways, still tripped on stairs and blamed the air for sabotaging her balance. But if anyone looked closely enough, they'd see something had dimmed. Her eyes didn't dance the way they used to. Her laugh was just a little too loud, too forced, and she never once looked back at the boy who used to walk beside her. Even when she knew he was watching, especially then, as if the universe couldn't resist twisting the knife further, their literature professor announced a 2-person dramatic performance project. one that would count for 30% of their semester grade. Each pair was randomly drawn. Lin Xiaofeng, Wang Zhijian, Group 7. The entire classroom went still. Some gasped. A few whispered. One girl muttered, "No way," but neither of them spoke. Zhijian simply scribbled the assignment details in his notebook, eyes hidden under the shadow of his hoodie. Xiaofeng sat rigid, her jaw clenched, hands buried beneath her desk. Fate, it seemed, was a little too ironic. Rehearsal day, the old campus auditorium. They met in silence. The auditorium was dim, the fluorescent lights overhead buzzing faintly. Dust floated through sunbeams, and only their breathing filled the air. She stood on stage. He sat below with the script. "Line 14, she said quietly, holding the paper with trembling fingers. No response. "Zhijian, your line." He finally looked up, emotionless. "You left," he read coldly. "Why should I care anymore?" His voice wasn't acting. It was real. So real she flinched. Still, they kept going, pretending to rehearse, pretending they were fine, pretending their hearts weren't bleeding through every word. They were on line 37 when it happened. Xiaofeng took a step, then another, and everything spun. The floor rushed up. Her eyes fluttered, and she collapsed. But she never hit the ground, because in that split second, Zhijian moved, fast, without thought. He caught her, arms folding around her body, pulling her close before gravity could leave a bruise. "Xiaofeng," he whispered, panicked. Hey, wake up." Her skin was clammy, forehead damp. She blinked slowly, confused, and then groaned softly. "What happened?" "You fainted." His voice cracked. She stared up at him from his arms. He stared back down, and something unspoken passed between them. 1,000 unsaid words, 100 apologies, one truth neither could erase. "You're not okay," he whispered. "I'm trying," she replied, her voice barely audible. "I'm trying to be okay." "I know," he said, tears threatening again. "I know." And for the first time in 8 days, they didn't look away. But still, no one said what mattered most. Later that night, Zhijian sat alone in his dorm, staring at his phone. No text from her. Xiaofeng lay on her bed, a cool towel on her forehead, holding the same script they'd been rehearsing. But she wasn't reading it. She was reading his name on her phone screen, wondering if he still saw her the same. 2 days after the fall, they didn't talk much after the auditorium incident. But something had changed. The silence between them wasn't sharp anymore. It had softened, lost its bite. It still lingered, but now it held room for possibility. They had rehearsals again that Thursday. This time, they both showed up early. She brought him lemon tea, pretending like it wasn't a peace offering. He took it, pretending like he wasn't staring at her fingers as they brushed his. They read through the script more easily now, less robotic, more like themselves. But then came scene 4. Zhijian's character had a line, "I'd rather lose the world than lose you." And he read it, then looked at her, dead in the eyes. Not acting. Not this line. Xiaofeng blinked. Her heart skipped. Not in panic, but in something warmer, scarier. She looked away. "You're not supposed to look at me like that," she said softly, fiddling with the corner of her script. "I wasn't acting," he replied, voice low. "Zhijian, I still mean everything I said that night. Every word." She said nothing, but she didn't walk away either. Later that evening by the fountain, they walked in silence, books in hand. She looked up at the stars, sighing. "You know," she said finally, "I used to think love was dangerous." He looked at her, like a pretty glass you admire but never touch, because it'll either break or cut you. "I still think that sometimes," she added, half smiling. "So do I," he admitted. They stopped walking. She turned to him. "But sometimes, I think maybe if you're careful enough, if you're honest enough, maybe it doesn't have to break. Maybe it can hold water." Zhijian didn't speak. His eyes were too busy reading her face. She stared at him. Then suddenly, she wrapped her arms around him. Soft, warm, real. He stiffened, then melted into her arms like rain against dry earth. And then she said, "I prayed about it, Zhijian, a lot. I asked God if I was being stupid, or scared, or both." She pulled back just slightly to look him in the eyes. "And I think I'm ready." to try, to stop running, to let you love me, and maybe love you back in the same way. His eyes widened. Tears stung, but he held them back. She gave him that beautiful crooked smile and added, laughing through her words, "But if you're going to do this, I want you to surprise me again, like you did before. Get on one knee and ask me again." Ji Jian blinked, breath caught in his throat. "You mean?" "I mean," she interrupted playfully, "don't you dare propose to me with a crushed sunflower next time." They both laughed, and somewhere beneath the moonlight, in the middle of the fountain courtyard, something fragile and beautiful finally bloomed. This time, they weren't afraid of holding it. A quiet dorm room early morning. Ji Jian sat at the edge of his bed, the sky still half asleep outside the window. His Bible was open beside him. A soft breeze stirred the curtains. His head was bowed, eyes closed. "Holy Spirit, I don't know what I've done to deserve her in my life, but I thank you for every prayer answered, the ones I knew I asked and the ones you answered before I even spoke. Thank you for her joy, for her chaos, for her laughter, and her spirit." He exhaled, voice soft and sure. "Please teach me how to love her, not just emotionally, but purely, as Christ would. Help me not to hold her too tightly, but enough to let her know she's safe, enough to be her home." His eyes opened, and a small smile crossed his lips. Today was the day. The fun park late afternoon. The sun dipped into gold as laughter from distant rides faded behind them. Ji Jian had taken her to their favorite spot, the old arcade near the carousel. But today it was quiet, empty, just the two of them, just like their first trip here. Xiaofeng wore an oversized hoodie, his hoodie, to be exact, and walked with cotton candy in her hand. "You're acting strange," she grinned. "What, are you going to challenge me to another food contest?" "I'm ready, baby brother." He didn't reply, just smiled faintly and led her to a small bridge above the koi pond. There he turned to her, took both her hands, looked into her eyes, and slowly, he knelt, again. No crowd, no flashing lights, no spotlight, just him and her, and the gentle whisper of the wind. "I don't have a stage or a speech," he said, "but I have you, and I want to spend every part of what I have left loving you." Her lips parted slightly, heart thundering in her chest. He continued, voice trembling just a little. "Will you let me be your boyfriend? And still let me be your baby brother too? Because honestly, I don't want to lose either role." She burst into laughter, teary, breathless laughter, the kind that sounded like healing. "You're insane," she whispered. "But yes, yes, you hopelessly lovable nerd." He stood, wrapped her in a deep, warm hug, and just as he leaned in, she paused him with a finger to his lips. "Don't kiss me again without permission." He blinked, taken aback, and then he smiled, leaned in, forehead against hers, and whispered, "Then I'll wait until I finally become your husband, after we graduate." She blinked hard, breath caught. You said what now?" But he only laughed softly and pulled her closer. They stood that way, two silhouettes in fading sunlight, stitched together by time, prayer, and something unshakably pure. And just like that, the curtain fell, softly, beautifully, and full of promise. Don't leave just yet. Want more stories that make you feel something? If this story made you smile, if it made you cry just a little, if you rooted for them as if they were your own friends, subscribe to our channel for more heart-melting modern dramas. Love stories built on depth and faith, and characters you'll never forget. Click that bell icon too, so you never miss a new chapter in our world of love, laughter, and grace. Let's keep writing these beautiful stories together.